up here today. Klaus Niedzwitz and Frankie Biela start from pole position in the ANZ Sierra. For position number 2, it's car number 17, Dick Johnson and John Bow in the Shell Sierra. Out of 3, Peter Brock and Andy Rouse in the Mobile 1 Sierra from 4:35. It's Seaton and Sears in the Peter Jackson Sierra from 5:25. Longhurst and McLaughlin. 2:16.01 their time. From 6 at 16, Win Percy and Alan Grice in the first of the Commodores. Starting alongside car number 11, Larry Perkins and Thomas Mazera. From 8, it's number 9, Hansford and Giudone. From 9:40, John Franco Bracatelli and Rob Gravitt. And rounding out the 10, of course, as we go to Alan Jones, but they have some problems with that car. From 11, it's Richards and Scaife in the Nissan. For position number 12, it's Fury and Price in the Peter Jackson Sierra. 13, Alum and Radicic in the second of the Shell cars. From 14, 6, Medecky and Charlie O'Brien. From 15, car number 8, Bond and Crosby in the Caltech Sierra. From 16, car number 7, Neil Crompton and Bradley Jones. From 17, car number 38, Bagnall and Francevic, one to watch. 18, 28, Waldock and Preston in the Sierra. From 19, it's Lintott and Gary Rush returning to Mount Panorama. And from 20, it's Reed and Ashby. That's the top 20 lining up here today at Mount Panorama. Well, it's been a week of drama. Motorsport sort of produces that type of drama. And as you've seen on Sports Machine during the year, some of the marvellous little incidents that have happened. We're putting together a little piece to recap season 1990 in motorsport, not only here in Australia, but also overseas. But before we go to that, Richard, I just wonder how the confidence of the B&H team would be. I mean, they were just so supremely confident on Friday. They went so well. Yesterday, just a slight problem. Alan Jones caught between gears, and now this problem this morning.
Yeah, they had the gearbox problem. They've had other problems with Tony Longhurst's car, despite being fastest. We just saw Glenn Seaton sitting down there on the grid, and he has had a remarkable run here. You know, they've hardly had any problems with that car. It's run like clockwork so far, and he could well be one to watch.
Well, there you can see the grid. That's going to change just marginally, of course, with Alan Jones out of position number 10. But as I look down the field with Niedzwitz and Johnson on the front row and Brock and Seaton, of course, in row 2, Longhurst and Percy, I think it's still anyone's race. Let's go down to Bruce.
Well, there's a great feeling down here, Mike, as the countdown to the great race accelerates.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure for me to be part of Australia's greatest single motor race. And now to the thousands here at Bathurst and the millions more around Australia on the 7 network. It's my honor to give the most famous command in sports. Gentlemen, start your engines.
And so the engine starts as the cars just wait before taking off on their warm-up lap here at Mount Panorama prior to the start of the 1990 Tooheys 1000. Fantastic field, a very, very competitive field that includes so many internationals and so many homespun heroes here in Australia. Mark, just looking at the field, if you go back down the list and look for a couple of chances, because not necessarily we're going to see that the winner perhaps come off the first couple of rows, who do you see as a potential outsider?
Well, if we're looking at the grid, I'd say Seaton, certainly a dark horse after his Sandown victory. Another guy worth watching is the Waldock Preston car. I
believe you might be quite right there, because they've been very, very competitive. There's the field. It's like to ride with Dick Johnson, and he's...
The Australian Television Network welcomes viewers coast to coast and throughout New Zealand, the Americas, Britain, Europe and Asia to Mount Panorama Bathurst and the 1990 Tooheys 1000.
Yes, Australia's great race is back on track at Mount Panorama Bathurst. The field has already left on the warm-up lap prior to the start of the 90 Classic. And one guy who isn't lined up from position number 10 is Alan Jones. With him in pit lane, John Harvey. John, what's the situation?
Alan, you've had a great week. The field is on the warm-up lap and you're in pit lane. What happened?
We discovered a leak in the water hose at the 11th hour, and the mechanics were changing it, and Tim Schenken in his wisdom has decided not to let me out because apparently I was 10 seconds late leaving the pit lane, so I have to start from here.
Alan, will this make you more determined?
well, it'll make it a lot sweeter when I'm up in that rostrum, I can tell you.
Good on you, Alan. Good luck.
Thank you, John Harvey, and thanks to Alan Jones. We have the cars warming up, heading up Mountain Straight at the moment towards BP Cutting, steepest grade on the circuit as they make their way to the top of Mount Panorama. The left-hander at BP. Then, of course, another incline there on the way to a right-hand kink we know as Tooheys Turn. There's the Ray Lintott, Gary Rush, Valvoline Sierra, car number 12. Ray, of course, has been a veteran campaigner in Australian motorsport. Gary Rush, of course, needs very little introduction. Probably the best sprint car racer that Australia has ever produced. And loves to dabble in touring cars. Wanted to drive a Sierra. He's got one, and a great ride for this race.
As the cars come through here, Mike, I can't help thinking that Dick Johnson, the thoughts must be going through his mind at the moment that history's repeating itself. He started from second position on the grid last year. Last year, he won the Best Presented Car Award. Both those things have happened to him this year, and last year, of course, he won. Yes,
might be a lucky omen. Let's hope so for Dick Johnson. And you noticed when Bruce McAvaney was speaking with Klaus Niedzwitz, a certain nervous tinge in the voice of Klaus, and for a very good reason, Richard.
Yeah, Klaus is worried about the standing start. These cars, the Sierras especially, in Europe, always run to a rolling start. In the sprint races, sometimes they run a slightly easier diff so they can get it off the line. There it's not a problem, but in a long-distance race, they're really worried about the start. They have to run extra stiff clutches, and that puts extra strain on the drive line. And Niedzwitz has got a big worry about that. Not only that, of course, also the fact that faster cars behind and the fast-starting cars, such as the Commodores, just might catch him on their way through.
Yeah, actually, Alan Jones in the number 20 Benson and Hedges car, that wasn't the only car held back in the pits. Alf Grant and Tim Grant in the Skyline were also in the same situation. They've just left pit road. So I think we're going to have to try and keep an eye on the progress of Alan Jones in the number 20 car during this race. There's our Dulux Autocolour race cam riding with Win Percy. The number 16 Telecom Mobiles V8 Holden. Warming up the tyres as they head down to Caltex Chase. Magnificent shot, aerial shot of the end of Conrod Straight, the new section that was added to the circuit a few years ago. Caltex Chase to slow the cars down. Well, it did for a while. But this year, of course, we've seen Tony Longhurst running around here even faster than the track 2 years ago or 3 years ago when it was shorter. And, of course, irrepressible Dick Johnson with our face cam. Dick lining up off the second row. As I said earlier, Bruce, you can really start to feel the tension building here between the spectators, and I think the strain showing a little on the drivers' faces as well.
Well, Mike, it's got to be the biggest moment in their life for each year anyway. I mean, this is the one they all work for, and there's no second prize. First or last, really, for a lot of these drivers.
That's right. So much of the publicity and advertising of the manufacturers and the sponsors they carry. No one really likes to advertise second at Bathurst. They only go for the win.
What do we look for here, Richard? What scenario into the first turn? Will Johnson take Niedzwitz?
Both of those guys, I think Johnson will take Niedzwitz, but both of those guys will be worried about the standing start. Niedzwitz is used to rolling starts, where the pace car pulls off and then they go. And that's what he'll be mainly worried about. I think look out for Johnson. Also look out for the Nissan with four-wheel drive. Of course, that will fly off the line.
Well, he's back on 11th, Richards. Is there any chance that he could get himself into the top 3 or 4 in the first 3 or 4 laps?
Just watch out. I think so.
I think if Jim gets a free run to the first turn, watch him heading up the mountain for the first time. And keep in mind, up till Friday, Richards had, good on you, Tony, Richards had the fastest car down Conrod Straight. Okay, there you can see the huge crowd off to the right here as we take the Dulux race cam at Win Percy. Not too far off the start, the rest of the field pulling up on Conrod Straight. So you have it. Klaus Niedzwitz sits on pole position in the ANZ Sierra, and alongside of him is Dick Johnson, the man whose car won this race last year. Stand by Australia, stand by TV3 in New Zealand and the world. Australia's great race ready to explode from Mount Panorama, Bathurst, Sunday, September 30. And cribbing the line almost was one of the pole cars getting away. Peter Brock, a magnificent start up on the outside. Just watch Brocky go, and Seaton will move into third spot. Longhurst a brilliant start. Johnson a very, very poor start. And Klaus Niedzwitz is at least through the first turn. Look at the traffic, and they head up Mountain Straight for the first time. going beneath the Corolla sign, the bridge halfway along Mountain Straight. And here they come. The jockeying for positions now, up to the right-hander at Repco. As they exit that turn and now make their way up Mountain Straight towards BP Cutting. Percy going through, Cropton going through, Neatsvitz in front, Brock second, Seaton, then followed by Longhurst, then the second of the ANZ cars. George Fury, a great start, and Columbine just ahead of the two V8 Commodores. The exit from BP now to the top, and Jim Richards already up there trying to pass some cars in the Nissan GTR. Across now to the top of the mountain, heading down towards Skyline. No incidents. Look at the lead so far as Neatsvitz blitzes them through there. Brock in second. Seaton is your next driver, followed by Longhurst. Then, of course, Greg Hansford moving up smartly, also the second of the Dick Johnson car. So we've had a great start.
We have. This was made in heaven for Klaus Neatsvitz, but poor Dick Johnson. I don't think he gave it enough revs at the start. The car bogged down and he almost got hit from behind. Exactly, and Peter Brock was away very, very smartly. Come down to Forest Elbow for the first time. The wide open spaces of Conrod Straight. The exit from that turn, the Nissan still sitting in there behind. Brancatelli runs back behind the second Johnson car. So an incident-free first lap, and as you said, Klaus Neatsvitz at this stage of the race heading down to the right-hander at Caltex Chase, a comfortable lead over Peter Brock. Great shot there of the speed and the approach shot, also the right-hander. Just watch them jockeying for positions as they go into the right-hander at Caltex. Somebody up there is looking after Klaus Neatsvitz at the moment. This is an enormous lead that he's built up already on the first lap, and really showing that the top 10 runoff that he just cleaned up really was no fluke. Bruce asked earlier this morning whether or not it was a good form guide yesterday, and I said maybe. It is a great form guide because Neatsvitz has started. The fans think this is fabulous. They're watching 7 Sport, following the coverage, and they're here trackside as well. And look at the Nissan. It's made up 2 places now since we last saw a shot of it. The Nissan is now up past Gianfranco Brancatelli and chasing after the second of the ANZ cars with Greg Hansford at the wheel. Up to Corolla. Not only chasing, he's passed it already. Yes. So Jim Richards on the move. Up to 6th place now. And right behind him, we have one of the Holdens parked off to the side, stalled. Looks like Gary Rogers to me. Alan Jones, of course, up to position 40 at the end of the first lap after starting from pit lane, which actually put him 55th on the starting grid.
Richards has been the fastest down Conrod also during the week, something like 290. So we can expect him on this second lap to really let it go down there and try and take somebody else. But it's been a great start for him. You'll notice Richard coming into his own across the tight parts of the circuit in the Nissan 4-wheel steer machine. Sits behind Dick Johnson at this stage of the race, down through the S's. Brock just locking up a brake as he went through there. Nothing serious. Now to the dipper. 2-wheeling through there, and a great panoramic shot of the top of Mount Panorama as they head down to Forest Elbow. Klaus Neatsvitz, repeating, is your race leader over Peter Brock. Glenn Seaton running 3rd on the road at the moment. And there's Richards, the man we're following, the man on the move at the moment, zeroing in behind Dick Johnson as they head down Conrod Straight. Look at the speed of this car. Freddie Gibson's done a tremendous job with this car, and they've brought the boss of Nismo in Japan over, Mr. Hioki, to come and have a look at it. He's amazed by it. He's up another spot already. Well, who would have thought after seeing Longhurst on Wednesday and Thursday that he'd be taken by 2 cars down Conrod? They're in race trim today too, aren't they? Absolutely. Both Richards and Johnson taking him there, and this is just an absolutely glorious start for the Nissan. They couldn't have asked for any more than this. They've got themselves into the picture. We take our Nissan race cam, so you're riding with Jim Richards. Here he comes, making the move on Dick Johnson. To the outside, the left-hander sits up here, but he won't pass. He'll try and get him on the inside as they go through this turn, and now swing down the inside of the car. Johnson out on the ripple strip. It's Richards now grabbing another gear. Let's have a look at the horsepower. Hasn't got any horsepower. 600 brake, they claim, and Johnson gets the blow-by from Jimmy Richards. Richards now storming towards the leaders. Neatsvitz disappearing. Brock runs in second. Glenn Seaton in the Peter Jackson car. And back behind him, of course, as they go over our track cam position on the exit to Mountain Straight. Fantastic pictures.
Here's a piece of news that'll worry some of the others. The Nissans have had big brake problems throughout practice, and guess what? They cured them yesterday afternoon. They ran both cars, and they cured them. They found a new disc setup and a new pad, and they believe they'll only have to stop for pads twice. And at one point, people were predicting they'd have to change discs and pads at all the pit stops.
That's correct. They come across the top of the mountain again. Jones, after starting 55th from the pit lane, is now position 35. We're following at the moment the big mover in the race at the front, and that's Jimmy Richards. He has disposed of Dick Johnson. They come down to the S's, and now he is working away on Glenn Seaton. Brock is ahead, and one spot ahead of him, of course, is Clouds Needsvits.
Talking to the Nissan guys before the race, I said, are you going to try and get the car to the finish? Is that what you want to show the reliability? They said, no, we're racers, we're here to win.
That's right. Forrest Elbow now, left-hander. Right out against the wall. Let's have a look at the power as it carries our Nissan race cam. How much power is this GTR four-wheel steer? They claim about 620. Sitting in the draft now. He'll probably pull out if he can snatch him here on the inside on the approach to Caltex Chase. He's trying. No, Seaton is able to get through the turn ahead of him. So Seaton and Richards in for a great scrap here.
And Johnson closing up again, Mike, so Seaton can fill both Richards and Johnson on his tail. But he's been quick all week, Seaton, 2:14 and a bit. He's lacked nothing in power.
Now we'll have a look at the brakes of the Nissan. Not much of a problem really here. It's only early days. So Jimmy Richards, a great drive from position number 11. Well, with Alan Jones out, we'll make that 10. But our race leader, Klaus Needsvits. Peter Brock is in second. Jimmy Richards now up to third. Glenn Seaton is fourth. Dick Johnson is fifth. And Tony Longhurst is sixth. That's the order as they exit Fuji turn on their way to the mountain again.
Needsvits 283 on Conrad the last time, so they were getting up to 295 yesterday, so it's very respectable.
And by my stopwatch, they're circulating at about 2 minutes, 18 seconds. And that, let me tell you, is quick.
Very, very fast. The pace has been a crack at the opening laps of the 1990 Tui's 1000 from Mount Panorama. Great to see Glenn Seaton, winner of the recent Sandown 500. Car number 35. Young guy with a ton of potential. Also carrying one of our Dulux race cams.
Some news here, Mike. The clerk of the course is waiting for a decision from the judge of fact at the start to see if Needsvits jumped the start. We saw that start when Needsvits looked as if he was rolling a little, and Jones has gone into the pits. So Alan Jones, who started at the back of the grid, is in the pits with the car 20, the second car in the B&H team.
That's a fairly quick stop.
Gee, it hasn't been their weekend so far, has it? He was 38th when he went to the pits. He got himself into a better position than that, 35th, so he obviously had a bit of a problem.
I'm sure Johnny Brady and our guys in the pits will be able to report what that problem was.
Frank Gardner was saying just before the race, you know, these race cars, they just won't read the scripts, will they?
Do you think Needsvits has got a problem with the start, Richard?
He certainly got away very quickly.
Actually,
it was a tremendous start for a guy that isn't used to doing standing starts.
I saw it move. I don't know whether how far before the start, but I did see some movement.
One of the problems is that sometimes you get a little bit of clutch creep.
Okay, time to go to the pits, and it's John Brady with Frank Gardner.
Frank, an early pit stop. What was the problem?
Well, it's a price to pay for leaving the pit lane at the back of the field. Got tangled up with one of the slower cars and flattened up all the tyres.
It's time you couldn't spare twice in a row in the one race, is it?
Not really. It starts off not to be your day with that car, but it's early in the day. It's going to have the problems nice and early, and we've got a chance of winding it in as the day goes by, but it's not looking good so early.
Frank, worrying that the Nissan showed so much power early with Dick Johnson's car?
Well, if the Nissan's out there in another 3 hours, they can pat themselves on the back, and they've done a terrific job. But I'll watch it run for the next hour or so.
Thanks, Frank.
Well, Frank, I think everyone wants to know that. Alan Jones rejoined in 49th position.
I'll tell you what, Frank would say that, wouldn't he?
Well, looking here, the Nissan has just gone by Peter Brock in the Mobil 1 Sierra 05. Pete continues that problem of locking a brake. We've noticed that in the early laps of this race, but settling into almost conservative mode at the moment. The exit to BP cutting. Klaus Needsvits disappearing towards the top of Tui's turn as Jim Richards goes after the race leader in the Nissan GTR Special.
This would be a big worry for all the Ford boys if they're circulating at 2:18s, and that is a really fast pace, and the Nissan is catching them.
That 2:18 suggests that Alan Moffat got it just right yesterday. He put Hansford in a race car and they went 2:17.97.
Absolutely, and the point that we raised earlier this morning, that Nissan were out training yesterday afternoon and doing laps of 2:15.40. The only thing we have to find out is whether the car can run like this for about 6.5 hours.
How far if he'd started from the pole position?
Oh, dearie me.
There would have been a space, wouldn't there?
Couldn't have got enough money on him. Okay, Jimmy Richards to the left-hander, Forest Elbow through Toledo Tools turn, and now onto Conrod Straight.
Keep an eye on the gap there. It was just about 2 seconds between this man here, Klaus Niedzwitz, the German, and Jimmy Richards, the Kiwi with the Nissan, in second place.
I think if Jim, and I think it seems fairly obvious to assume that the Nissan is going to haul in Klaus Niedzwitz, but I don't think he's going to get much of a race from Klaus. I think Klaus will be happy to sit in behind.
Klaus is something of an expert at long-distance touring car races, and he knows that there's a fair few kilometres to go yet, and there's no point getting involved in a fight in the first 10 laps.
And I think it's in everybody's mind that even if the Nissan leads for the first out, the big problem it's going to have is lasting the distance. So you're pretty right. I think you'll be happy to see him go.
So here's Niedzwitz, doing a great job, has a very competent co-driver in Frankie Biela, who came out here last year, 2 Europeans. Uh-oh, problems there for Ray Lintott. And this car was to have been co-driven. Well, you still might get a shot at it by Gary Rush, but Ray Lintott in the Valvoline Sierra, just clipping the edge of the sand trap at the top of the mountain. Let's check them out for you on our Caltex race score. Klaus Niedzwitz and Frankie Biela lead in the ANZ Sierra. Second is Brock and Rouse in the Mobil 1 Racing Sierra. Third, Richards and Scaife. What a performance. Johnson runs in fourth, and Seaton and Sears run in fifth place. Sixth, Longhurst and McLaughlin. Seventh is Hansford and Giordano. Eighth, Medecky and O'Brien. Ninth, Allam and Radicic. And rounding out the 10, Fury and Price in the Peter Jackson Sierra. What a race, and there's plenty more to come at Mount Panorama as we work the early laps of the 1990 Great Race.
Conrod Niedzwitz in front in the Sierra, being chased by Richards and the Nissan.
What a race. Richards has just stormed at the leaders, and as you can see, as they come down to Caltex Chase, they're going to have some of the smaller cars to try and wind in and out of. Richards in the number 1 Nissan GTR. Just ahead of him on the track is, of course, our race leader Klaus Niedzwitz in the ANZ Sierra. Watch Richards here again under brakes, or he may decide just to sit in behind Klaus and work his way up to the top of the hill. Depends how keen he is to want to lead this race. He can do it now if he wants. No, Niedzwitz moves over. You're going to have to race for this one, says Klaus. And Niedzwitz is trying to position himself with some of these slower cars, get across now to the inside of the racetrack. They've moved over, so you'll find that Niedzwitz will stay here on the right. Sorry, Jim, bit of pocket pool there as Niedzwitz is driving a little more defensively than I thought he would, but he doesn't want to get caught that far behind if he makes the wrong move on some of these slower cars.
He's using the traffic to his advantage all the time. You can see he's just always trying to put one car between himself and the Nissan, and he tried there. I think he was trying a little bit too hard. Well, that was brave.
It was brave stuff. Here comes Niedzwitz storming up on the inside of the Corolla as they go to BP cutting. And Richards would be enjoying every moment of this. Loves a race, and the car running perfectly at this stage. Up now to 2 East turn, and it is getting fairly close at the front of the field. Klaus Niedzwitz, Jimmy Richards, Peter Brock. That's the order.
One of the places where the Nissan really scores is coming out of the slow corners. When it puts the power down, it puts it down so well because all 4 wheels are driven.
Here we go across the top of the mountain. Coming down beneath Nissan skyline. Great aerial shot there from our 7 chopper. Measure how tight the circuit is through there. It's unbelievable. This is a public road heading in 2 directions during the week. They use every centimetre of it on race day. A chance now again as they come out of Toledo Tools turn for Jimmy Richards to catch the draft of Klaus Niedzwitz beneath the GIO insurance sign. Watch the Nissan now. This is the moment for Jimmy Richards. He's going to make it. No. Or is he? Niedzwitz is doing some defensive driving.
Klaus has said if you're going to pass me, you're going to have to go the long way around.
So we do really have a good race going here with Niedzwitz, who told us yesterday and again this morning his plan was just to run in a conservative mode, they want to go and lead the race, they can. He's going to sit in behind them.
Well, Needsvits does have the other advantage of the fact that there's a second Moffat ANZ car, and he can force the pace of the race and try and break the Nissan, which is, I would guess, what he's trying to do at the moment, because he can always drop back to the second car a little later if he has to.
I don't think that's on his mind at the moment.
Both those cars, Mike, at 283 at Conrod. So not bad defensive driving at 283, is it? No.
Here we go now. Pulls to the inside and Klaus moves over. They are side by side and Jim actually gives him the goodbye. Fairly tight stuff, that. But Klaus, as they come in now behind the Grant car, driven by Alf and Tim Grant. Now they'll have to try and get out of here. Klaus will stick to the tail. There's Brocky going through, still running in third spot. To BP cutting. And as they climb to the top of the mountain, we'll just establish the break. Let's have a look at this, an incident on top of the mountain. Prima Holiday replay. This was the Ray Lintott Valvoline Sierra. Whew. That's fairly close. That was defensive driving too. That was right in front of Johnny Smith, I believe. Ray Lintott was positioned 23rd. He's rejoined, got all the sand off the car, and he's now 39th.
Needsvits is not letting Jim Richards get away and tries to get around the outside there as they come over Nissan Skyline. That's not the place to do it, is it, Mike?
Definitely not. I think Alan Moffat will be having heart palpitations at this moment. This wasn't in the script to want to go back and try and pass him for the lead. There's no point in trying to break the Nissan. Locking up a break there, Richards, this time. Now we'll compare the speed. They've got an open racetrack in front of them, I believe, on Conrod Straight. A couple of cars there, that shouldn't worry.
I just wonder if that lock brake may possibly be a sign of the brake problems that they suffered in practice.
Well, I don't know, early days perhaps. But he is starting to open that gap just a little. But Jim's going to come down on some of the slower cars now. Needsvits closes up just a little under brakes. They're starting to get away from the rest of the field at this stage. Great shot as they come up to the Bridgestone Bridge. Jimmy Richards on the inside. Klaus Needsvits trails as they rattle off one more lap across the start-finishing line. A couple of Commodores there, young Brian Callahan, Gerwald and young Bagwana driving that car today. And his dad and Barry Graham in the second car. It all looks pretty easy at this stage as the Nissan takes control, goes beneath the Corolla Bridge and heads up Mountain Straight. Oh, in the pits, Peter Brock, 05. Teamer already down there. Scheduled pit stop for Peter Brock. Not surely the same.
This can't be happening 2 years running. They had a problem last year with that right rear hub locking. The nut was locked on, and it looks to have happened again. There's problems there for the Brock team. They've got the nut off now, but this is a long pit stop. He was in third position, and this will drop him way down the order.
Some great pictures there. Peter Brock takes it all philosophically, and he is back in the race again. A great opportunity to show you that miniature camera. You believe a puncher for Peter Brock. Those things do happen in a race like this.
He's rejoined Mike in 22nd position, so he's lost 19 places there, 3rd to 22nd.
Just to explain that when Peter Brock comes into the pits if he's got a puncture like that, the team will, as a matter of course, change all 4 wheels and tyres.
So they're still having the problem with the centre lock as well.
That's a big worry.
Jim Richards and the Nissan GTR still holding that brake over Klaus Needsvits.
Really says something for the power of this car that he was able to pass 8 Sierras and 2 Commodores in 7 laps.
Not only that, when you consider how much heavier it is than a lot of race cars similar to it with the 4-wheel drive, it's a heavy car.
Well, they must be delighted in the pits at the moment, the Nissan crew. Let's join Steve Titmus with Fred Gibson.
Thanks so much, Bruce. Fred, a fabulous start for you.
Oh, well, it's only the start of a 1,000k race. There's a long way to go yet. Like, that's what we wanted to do. We want to try and break the Sierras up and get to the front so we can run our own pace. I still say we can run 17, 18s. I don't think many Sierras will be able to do that all day. Whether we can or not, we don't know yet. But like Jimmy's gone to the game plan so far, it's a matter of settling in now and seeing if we can keep the car going for the whole race.
Are you planning to run these sort of times, though? Sorry? Are you planning to run these sort of times for part of the race?
We were planning to run 17, 18s. We're going to schedule something. Whether Sierras can keep that time, I don't know, but we know we can for quite a while yet. So towards the finish, we'll just have to cut it back.
Fred Gibson, thank you.
Fred Gibson, who's given us his race plan, 17s and 18s, and is exactly what Jim Richards is doing at the moment. There's Dick Johnson.
Well, running smoothly for Dick, breathing a little heavy as it headed up the mountain. Dick in the number 17 Shell Sierra into BP Cutting. Dick running in third on the road. Also the Mercedes, the Phil Ward, John Goss Mercedes in the pits at the moment was running position 35. And it is in the pits. That's bad luck because it's a car that can circulate all day. Phil Ward, the driver. Okay, he returns. Might be timely now to have a look at an action replay of the start of the great race. The jumble for the first turn. Okay, we'll take it off race cam with Win Percy. Look at Brock. Johnson just stopped right in front. Percy backed it out, I think, and was also gathered in there by about 6 or 7 cars, including his teammate, Neil Crompton. Kevin Waldock going around the outside of the playscape machine. And the second of the Brock cars, Andrew Madecki now in the pits.
Andy had a terrible time last year, retiring on the first lap. He's up to, or was up to 9th so far this year, and now an unscheduled pit stop for him.
What's the problem, John Harvey? John Harvey, I think, covering our pit stop for us. John, any idea of what the problem is? The centre lock again?
Yes, Mike, it's the left rear. In Peter Brock's case, it was the air pressure on the wheel gun, but in this particular case, yeah, there, they got it off now. It's away.
Any idea of why the early stop, John?
Yeah, in Peter's case, it was a blistered tyre.
Yeah.
And he's away. In this case, it looks like exactly the same, which is quite a surprise because they weren't expecting any tyre problems at all.
Now, of course, Bridgestone was one of the companies that did a tyre test day here early in the year and came up with new compound tyres for the track.
Yeah, and all the drivers of the team were extremely impressed with them and were confident, but we've got another problem here now. I'll just check it out.
Okay, thanks, John. John Harvey in the pits, covering this pit stop for Andrew Madecki. John, of course, a former winner of this great race, the Tooheys 1000, live from Mount Panorama at Bathurst today.
Well, early days, but not a good start for the Mobile Racing team. Brock intended to go in on lap 33. We're looking at Dick Johnson, one of his great rivals over the years, who seems to have overcome a slow start. And has got himself in a third position behind Niedzwitz and Richards, who's been the big story of the first half hour of this race.
He certainly has been. There's Johnson across the top, coming down to Castrol through there onto Skyline. I'll show you some splits back in the pack shortly. They have really started to open up. The Nissan with Jimmy Richards, Klaus Niedzwitz. Running in second, Johnson is third on the road at the moment. And Dick Johnson, as Richard said earlier, not only winning the best turned out car award, if he can repeat that, that means he's bound for victory lane here today, if you like those omens. Andy Madecki has rejoined the field after that pit stop, now in position 46. Larry Perkins and Thomas Mazzera. Larry always gives this race his best shot. In fact, he has moved up through the field. Now up to position 11, in car 11 is Perkins.
Perkins with the rumbling V8 there of the Commodore. Heads down Conrod Straight. Behind him is George Fury with the second of the Peter Jackson end of cars. Over their eyes. And now underneath our camera.
had a brilliant week, Richard. I think he was a bit disappointed yesterday. He was in a great position to climb at least 1 or 2 positions on the grid and just made a mistake going into Caltex.
On the top 10 runoff, I think everybody expected Perkins to be quickest. Of the 2 Commodores, anyway, himself and Alan Grice, who was driving the Holden Racing Team car. And it didn't work out that way. As you say, Larry locked a brake up and lost a little bit of time there. But a very experienced driver. He's driven Formula 1 cars, and he knows his way around here. He's won here before.
3 times. Not a bad record, is it, with the great man?
And definitely a dark horse for victory in, what, 6 hours' time.
Well, it's been a good story for Jim Richards this morning, and a pretty good one for Alan Moffat's team, but not a good story for Peter Brock's team so far, with unscheduled pit stops for both the 05 car and the 6 car, and they lost valuable positions.
And both of them with blistering tyres, which is surprising, because Andy Rass, who drives in the British Series, normally drives on Pirellis, and was remarking on how good he found the Bridgestones. Now that's a little bit surprising, in that for Andy to say that the tyres were good and then to have both cars in within the first half an hour with tyre problems. Andy knows his way around a Sierra fairly well. He supplied all the bits for these and supplies them for most of the cars.
So as we're about to have a look at the top 10, and Jim Richards starting 11th on the grid leads in his Nissan GTR from Klaus Needswitz in the Sierra. Then Johnson in 3rd placing in the Shell Sierra. Then Longhurst has been pretty consistent. Seaton in 5th place, so there's been a swap there between Longhurst and Seaton. Hansford 6th, so the ANZ Sierra 2 of the top 6. Then Allen the 2nd of the Johnson cars. Percy 8th, the 1st of the Commodores. Then Bond and Fury. So Seaton also has 2 in the top 10. We'll be back with more from Bathurst. Back to the Tui's 1000 on lap 14 of 161. Threatening black clouds overhead, and we've had perfect conditions all week at Bathurst. No likelihood of rain, but we could have some today, and that may be very, very good for the Nissan with Jim Richards. And it also could be a good thing, Richard Hay, for the Peter Brock team with their tyre problems.
It could well. If they've got blistering tyre problems with their slick tyres, they have to put on a grooved wet tyre if the rain comes down, and that could well solve the problem for them. But what is going to be a far bigger worry to them is the fact that the Nissan has got 4-wheel drive and will just fly.
Looking at Wyn Percy and the Holden dealer team, they're in 8th position at the moment as we welcome Mark Osler to the microphone.
Yes, Wyn's running. I was talking to Wally Story, the team manager, yesterday. He said they could consistently run about 18s or 19s in this car. I've got to put the clock on him next lap and see if they're running to their race plan. Wyn and Alan Grice very confident with this car. They say it can run it hard all day. And it's going to be interesting to see, after 1,000 tough kilometres around here, whether this thing's up in the top 5.
Wyn has fairly rocketed up through the field as well, because as we saw on Dulux Auto Colour race cam, which we see again there at the start, he really did get swamped by the pack. So to make his way up to 8th place at the moment, he's flying.
He's doing very well. You can see him working hard at the wheel there. Wyn had an unfortunate injury at Sandown when he tore a muscle in his left shoulder. He's been undergoing a lot of physiotherapy and treatment by the doctors here to try and get the arm back to full strength. And he commented yesterday that he felt he'd be able to do the job even if it wasn't 100%.
Inside of Wyn Percy's car at 280 kilometres an hour.
Looks like he's had a little ding at the front of the car too, so he's had an eventful first 15 laps.
Well, if he's had to find his way back up through the field in the traffic, and also with the back markers, it's very easy to just clip another car.
Wyn's had a few problems, an injury problem all week. Alan Grice has done most of the testing and drove yesterday. Were you surprised that Percy started today?
I was a little bit, but Wyn is also the team manager of the team now, and I think most of the guys sort of rallied around and said, "Oh, come on, Wyn, you know, you've got to do it, mate. We've worked for this all year," which they have. This is the one race that the Holden race team look to during the year that they know they can be successful in.
Just had a good view of the front of Percy's car, and you can see he's had quite a bit of paint taken off. So
it does look very much as though it's just superficial there, nothing to worry about from Wyn's point of view.
I guess as team manager, the easiest time of the race is when you're actually in the car.
I would think so, yes.
You could relax and just do the job. So we're looking at Wyn Percy. Alan Grice, his co-driver, there in 8th position at the moment. And the race leader is Jim Richards from Klaus Niedzwitz, and Dick Johnson third.
Good dice going on here as the 35 car is now being pushed along by number 9 there, Greg Hansford, in the second of the ANZ Sierras.
This is for 5th position, I would think, because Seaton had lost 4th position to Tony Longhurst.
And there's Jeff Allen tacking onto the back of this in the second Dick Johnson car, car number 18.
Jeffrey will be loving all this. He's always felt that he's running Dick Johnson's second string car, and to be racing up there for a position, he'll be well pleased.
So what we're looking at here, Richard, is 5, 6 and 7 in the race. Hansford 6th position, 5th for Seaton and 7th for Allen.
Gives you some idea of just how evenly matched these cars are. The ANZ car is basically made in Switzerland by Rudy Eggenberger. It's made with Eggenberger bits and then flown out here for Alan Moffat's team, as Alan there looks to make a move on the inside of Hansford. No room there. Hansford's closed the door on him. And Alan's car, of course, built by Dick Johnson Racing. Ahead of them, Glenn Seaton's car, built by his own preparation company. 3 completely different cars, and yet oh so close come the race.
That's right, Glenn's been warming up to an endurance mode all year. He's run the Touring Car Championship with an obvious power deficit in the engines built by his father, Barry Seaton. But as he said, when the big endurance races come toward the end of the year, the rest of the field is going to have to come back to the sort of horsepower that he's been running. And he's very, very competitive nowadays.
Jeff Allen working away there in the 18 car, pulls out of the draft, out of the slipstream, and alongside of Greg Hansford. And that's it. Looks like he's made the place there. So Jeff Allen moves up now and takes away 6th place from Greg Hansford.
And it does look as if the Johnson crew is getting ready for a pit stop for Dick Johnson's car or Jeff Allen's. Will probably be Johnson's car. He's in 3rd position at the moment, and Allen's moved himself into 6th position.
Well, we've already seen Peter Brock in tyre problems. It would be my guess that the pace of the race at the start, they were running around so quickly that will have contributed to those tyre problems. And of course, for as long as they'll try and stay with the Nissan,
let's have a look at the Auto World Conrod comparison just to see who is the quickest down Conrod Straight. This is the fastest section of the course, and you can see that the Richards Nissan at 287, Allen surprisingly 285, Jones at 283, he started at 55 on the grid, Hansford at 283. So Richards the fastest down Conrod, no real surprise there. 55 in the pits, that's Walcott. And as we said, it did look as if the Shell team was getting ready for some action down there a couple of minutes ago, but still no sign of Johnson going in or Allen.
I was talking to Neil Lowe yesterday. He was hoping to get about 38 laps out of the lead car, and perhaps 41 laps with the second car. They're very accurate on their fuel consumption figures, the Shell team, and they're going to try and get the maximum out of each tank of fuel.
Seems a little bit optimistic, that, as we take a look there at Jeff Allen again, looking for a way past Glenn Seaton on the straight. Surprising just how quick that car is in a straight line, especially when you consider that it's the second string car, and almost traditionally it seems that the second string car has been slightly slower in the Johnson team. Here comes Allen up on the inside of Seaton, moves up another slot as they go around Murray's.
And it's lap 17 as they cross the line. Allen. And Seaton's not going to give that place away. He's fighting back as they go to swing up the mountain. But Hansford has it.
So he's just lost 2 positions in quick succession to Allen and also to Hansford. So Seaton, who started at 4, has got himself back to 7th. And the Johnson team have got 2 in the top 5, and the Moffat team have got 2 in the top 6.
Dulux Auto Colour race cam there on the roof of Glenn Seaton's car.
This is a really sensational view of Mount Panorama. You really get an idea of the speed here. These guys are running on a very, very narrow racing line around this place, and it is very exacting.
Well, we're looking at Jeff Allen, and he's really flying around at the moment. He was 2nd fastest down Conrod, but Dick Johnson, who's driving, Dick Johnson, we're looking at number 17, who's driving the number 1 car in 3rd position, we believe, He will be coming into the pits very shortly, and there could even be a driver change at this stage for John Bow to come in. So we're on lap 18, and Johnson wasn't going to come in until 37, which was fairly ambitious. He was a couple of laps further on than anybody else. So he'll be coming in at about half of that, or a little under half. Got a terrible start today, Richard, didn't he? He really got the worst of the start.
He really did. It looked as though he just didn't give it enough revs and the car bogged down.
And a shot at Johnson with our face cam, hard at work. Swings into the chase.
Also believe the Peter Jackson team is getting ready for a pit stop. They're running Seaton and also Fury, who's very close to the top 10 after starting 12 on the grid. And Johnson now coming into the pits.
I think there will be a driver change here. It looked like Johnson loosening his belts as he came under the bridge.
Okay, so Bow will be getting ready to come into the car. Yes, you can see Johnson throwing the belt away as he comes in on lap 17. And let's join John Brady in the pits.
Thanks very much. And yes, that's exactly the situation. They've decided that they've got to come in for a puncture, so if they're going to do that, they may as well go the whole hog, do the whole sets of tyres, obviously, and also the driver change, get it out of the way now. Of course, the weather's threatening, so they may as well get the change done as they can. And they're working frantically here to get John Bow into the seat. Strapping him in, Dick Johnson giving some help, almost ready to go here. It'll be a fairly quick stop for them, and that is quite quick. That's just over about 30 seconds or so, and that's very, very quick indeed.
Thanks to John Brady.
Yes,
we take a look there at John Bow, just tightening the seat belts as he makes his way out of the pit lane. Now this is interesting because Bow's rejoined in 12th place, incidentally. Johnson has jumped out of that car at, what, only 18 or so laps?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't normally expect him to do that, so it may be that that car has another problem. And if that's the case, then Johnson would then, we would then expect him anyway to jump into the Allen car.
And there's nothing wrong with the Allen car. It's been the big mover along with Richards. It's gone from 13th to 4th place in the first 18 laps. So the second car's working very well for them, the number 18. We've been told also that the Seaton car may have a problem with tyres overheating. He's going to take it easy for a couple of laps out there and then assess the situation as to whether he'll come in and make a change or not. So he has lost a couple of positions. We saw both Hansford and Allen take him a lap or two ago. So he's now just going to button off a bit and be a little conservative.
My guess is it was the early pace of the race that's caused these problems.
Okay, Dick Johnson's into the pits. He's changed drivers with John Bow. Here's John Brady with Dick now.
Well, Dick, you didn't expect to be back in here this quickly. What's the reason?
No, it appears as though we might have picked up a bit of a bait in one of the front tyres, so it felt a bit funny. So rather than risk doing another epic trip down the main straight at 160 mile an hour, I thought I'd call in.
Yeah, discretion's the better part of valour. Most of the teams here were going to have their top driver doing a double shift first up. Why the driver change?
Oh, I think that's fairly tough work, because if you want to maintain the pace out there, it's 40 laps is enough, I think.
So you thought you'd just get it out of the way on the spot?
Yeah, well, this will put us, in a fair sort of shape for the end of the race, because that means we won't make any extra pit stops or anything. So, like the 18 laps that we've just done has brought us back, right on schedule.
You need that Nissan to break down. It did power past you pretty well.
It's a long way to go, yeah, isn't it? Like, we've only scratched the surface. Now we start to get, into some serious racing.
Fair enough. Thanks very much for your time, Dick.
John Brady with Dick Johnson, they all say the same thing. They expect the Nissan to fall over at some stage. They're hoping it will. Here's John Bow, who along with Dick Johnson won the great race last year. They're hoping to become the first since Perkins and Brock to double up.
Got a bit more bad news for him as far as the Nissan's concerned. It's easier on tyres because of the four-wheel drive.
And a bit of other bad news is that it's gaining a second, going away 1 second per lap on Needswitz at the moment, so it's maintained that momentum it's had all the way through. John Bow driving the number 17 car, the 36-year-old from Tasmania, and was successful here last year with Dick Johnson. He's been around Bathurst plenty of times. He was second in 87, 88, so he's got a brilliant record, and he was the Australian Sports Car Champion in 1986, and he won the Gold Star Series in 84 and 85. And we've been told that Dick Johnson is happy with 17. He won't be jumping into Jeff Allen's 18. One other mover today has been Colin Bond. Colin had some problems during the week. They blew a turbo on Friday, I think it was, and he's moved from 15th to 8th. So he never really got a crack at getting into the top 10 on Friday morning.
Now, Bondy spent most of practice working on his race setup. That was what he was looking for all the time. Something that would keep him competitive throughout 161 laps of this fantastic racing circuit.
Yeah, Colin had a bit of engine trouble throughout the week. I think on Wednesday he detonated an engine experimenting with his engine management system. Then on Friday they were just out on the track for the first session and they blew a turbo. So Collins hasn't had the best of lead-ups to this race. But as we saw in the Touring Car Championship, the guy has a fantastic ability to come back.
Win Percy in the Holden Racing Team Commodore is now up to 6th position. Made his way past Glenn Seaton. And Winston really flying. I still think with the pace that's being run at the front, this car could come good at the end.
Yeah, Win would have to be very happy with this performance. We're not even 1 hour into the race. And here's the Works Commodore up to 6th position. And they're going to look very strong.
And only just ahead of him is Greg Hansford. That'll be the man that Win Percy has his sights set on now as he makes his way up Mounted Straight.
Across our track cam as they work their way up Mountain Straight to BP Cutting. We're following Larry Perkins, a very strong mover this year, and Colin Bond, great to see him in there, keeping the pressure on. Win Percy, car number 16. Don't discount the Holdens here today. I know it's early days and all the Sierra owners and a number of the drivers are suggesting the Nissan is going to fall over. That's what they're hoping on. They need that to happen. Make no mistake, in order to win this race today. And the other good thing is that Jim Richards has such a capable co-driver in young Mark Scaife, who can drive the tin tops. He's at home in an open wheeler, and I think he could almost go the distance 1,000 clicks by himself.
Yeah, he's a very fit young man, Mark Scaife, and that is just the classic example of what you have to do at Bathurst these days. It has become so professional, you can't afford to have the lunchtime driver who's maybe a second or so slower than the lead driver. You have to have two number ones who can get in the car and run flat out for 1,000 Ks.
Here's Win Percy at speed coming along Conrod Straight, bound under the Corolla hat sign for Caltex Chase. Still staying in touch there with Greg Hansford in the second ANZ car. I know you guys put some raps on Hansford earlier, and I do tend to agree. He's been really one of the unsung heroes of the Moffat operation the last couple of years. And he's very, very competitive here and likes this circuit.
Certainly is. He's an excellent driver. He's been involved with Moffat actually from the late 70s, back in the Group C days. And he's a good operator, there's no doubt about it.
Colin Bond there, making his way up through the field. Glenn Seaton making his way down through the field. We're told that he's got a few tyre problems, but at the moment he's going to stay out there. They reckon he'll probably lose more time by coming into the pits than he would by staying out there. So they'll try and keep him out there for as long as he can, so long as he doesn't lose too much time.
Bondi in position number 8 at the moment, challenging Seaton for 7th place. And running in behind them, looks like Larry Perkins.
Perkins, another of the movers in the Commodores. And the Commodores, I believe, really will come good towards the end of the race.
Look at this fantastic view that we're bringing you, our race cam team with this special camera, silhouette cam we like to call it, as we hang it out the side of the Colin Bond Caltex Sierra. He's chasing Glenn Seaton at the moment, putting a lot of pressure on Glenn Seaton as they go across the top of the mountain. You'll see a great view here as they come up to Skyline on the concrete wall. How close would you like it? Drifting out here. Watch the movement of the front wheels. Now tucking into the left-hander. Seaton gives the Sierra a dab of the brakes. That scrap continues as we go to the pits, and our men are on the scene.
Okay, this is just a regular tyre stop, although they're having tyre problems they're not expecting. That stop was 24 seconds, is pretty quick, but they didn't really want to have that stop.
I'll come back to you, John, and we'll talk about tyres, because this really could throw the race upside down for a couple of the Bridgestone runners.
This tyre situation is also very interesting in the Yokohama company. We have Seaton with all sorts of problems with his tyres, and it's also interesting that the Nissan is leading the race now, is also running on Yokohama tyres.
Once again, we look at this great speed shot. Brock, of course, has now rejoined position 22. That's been a familiar position for a couple of them today. Bondi, right behind Glenn Seaton in the Peter Jackson Sierra. Coming down, here comes Glenn Seaton into the pits as Larry Perkins now starts to stalk Colin Bond. Is the race cam view, our roof cam view of Glenn Seaton's car go beneath the Tooheys Bridge. And here he comes, and John Brady to call the action for you, John.
Yes, thanks very much, Mike. Seaton's been having trouble with his tyres. At first they thought it was a tyre, then they thought it may have been the cooling on the back brake, so they switched it off for a while. He was getting a shudder. Now they've decided it's the compound. The reason he had to wait was they've been streaking up another compound for him, getting it out and getting it ready, which they're giving a go now. And as you say, tyres becoming a real factor in this race. And Seaton just sitting there patiently waiting to see if this compound's going to be any better for him. You see him shaking his head. Something's gone wrong. Got problems there. They're filling up the water tank, in fact, for the brakes, the cooling of the brakes, I think. And Seaton ready to go now. He's been in a little while, but he's off now in a case of just how these tyres are going to go.
So Glenn Seaton, the Peter Jackson Sierra, back on track as we pick up on the scrap going on between Colin Bond and the Caltech Sierra. And coming after him, of course, is Larry Perkins in car number 11.
Glenn Seaton just rejoined the race in 17th position. Pit stop was about 35 seconds.
Also in the pits now, car number 38.
It's the Andrew Bagnall, Robbie Francevic Sierra.
One of the cars with strong support from TV3 in New Zealand. And welcome also to viewers across New Zealand taking in this great race. Andrew Bagnall was 17th. The car now in the pits, and here comes the Moffat machine into the pits. Steve Titmus to call it as Klaus Niedzwitz still in the car.
Yes, he is. Mike, it looks as if at one stage he was going to hop out of the car, but now it looks as if he won't at this stage because he told Frank Biala to go away. And at this stage there's a lot going on. It looks as if they're changing all tyres as usual, and also filling up the oil as well in the motor. And they've actually shut the motor down as well. At this stage where there has been a problem with the car, they fired it up again at Klaus Niedzwitz, back out of the pits once again. It was a pretty lengthy stop, around about 45-50 seconds.
Thank you, Steve. It certainly was. Might get Alan Moffat's view on that a little later from you, Steve. This great race continues. Klaus has rejoined in position 10 as Jimmy Richards continues in the Nissan GTR.
Klaus has dropped 8 spots there from second position, and it's always a bad sign when they start putting fluids into a Sierra. They don't have the best reputation for reliability in the world.
Certainly isn't in that situation. The Sierras run so terribly hot, don't they, Richard? And to switch an engine off in the pits, we've seen is very hard on the Sierra's head gaskets in the past, and it wouldn't be as you say, a good sign for Moffat at this stage.
The earlier pit stop with Andrew Bagnall in the TV3 car, it was in the pits for a change of spark plugs. And back out again. Andrew Bagnall stepped out of the car, and Robbie Francevic of Auckland has stepped into the machine. Andrew Medecky's car, the second Brock machine in the pits. Fresh rubber going on it. Andrew Medecky stays in the car. Geez, had wretched luck at this race.
Hasn't he? And just more confirmation by the looks of things that the Bridgestone tyres just don't seem to be working on the Brockmobiles.
This must be a major disappointment for Bridgestone. They did the tyre test day up here to get the compounds right, and all sorts of things going wrong here. We've had Brock's car and Medecky's car in very early on.
I just hope they've all brought enough tyres. The rate of the pit stops are going to consume some in 161 laps.
That could become quite a factor, Mike, because Bridgestone have only been able to supply the Brock team this year.
So Jimmy Richards continues as we take our Caltex race score. Let's take a look at how they run on the racetrack. No doubt about the leader. It's Jim Richards. Mark Scaife to take over shortly in the Nissan GTR. Second is car number 25, the Longhurst and McLaughlin Sierra. Running in third, Allam and Radicic in the second of the Johnson cars. Fourth is Percy and Grice in the first of the Holdens. Then back behind them in fifth spot, Hansford and Pierre Dudonne running in the number 9 car. Sixth is Colin Bond and Graham Crosby. Seventh, the number 11 car of Perkis and Thomas Mazzera. From 8, 17, Johnson and Bow. Back to 8th on the road. 9th, Needsvits and Biala after that pit stop. And rounding out the 10, there's the gentleman farmer, George Fury, Andrew Price. And we'll be back at Panorama just a second. Panorama Bathurst, we're working lap number 26 of 161 in the Tui's 1000. All the talk in the pits must be about this car and this man. Jimmy Richards and the Nissan GTR didn't have the best of luck during qualifying in the practice days, the lead up to this morning's race. At the moment, though, Jim has spread eagled the field. He's opened the gap up to 32.5 seconds. And no matter which way you look at it, that is a huge lead. Jimmy Richards, you're not hogging this race, are you?
Well, Mike, we've got to do a few brake stops, so we've got to make a little bit of a buffer so that when we come in, we can keep the time on the track open.
You must have a lot of Sierra owners very, very worried the way you've attacked this race, taken the lead and done it so easily. Does the car feel good, Jim?
This little car feels unbelievable. It's a shame there's not more of them in the race.
Everyone thought that just starting one car in the race was probably would work against you. At the moment, it's working for you.
It was the only decision to make, and Fred always makes the right decisions. Whatever he says is right.
So you're going to do stint about, Jim? Will Mark take over when you do your pit stop, or you stay in for 2?
No, Mark will take over. He's lapping as good as I am, so he can have a drive. I'll have a rest.
All right, son, you're looking good out there in front, and you're entertaining a lot of viewers, not only across Australia, but also back in your native New Zealand.
Great. Hi, New Zealand. How are you?
OK, Jimmy, let you get your mind back on. Thanks for the chat.
Thanks, Mike.
Jimmy Richards talking with us there, courtesy of our Nissan race cam. Great speed shot again, straight over the top of our track cam. One guy I have been keeping an eye on is Win Percy. The order again for you at home. Jimmy Richards continuing to lead. Tony Longhurst runs in second. It's great to see Tony up there at least staying in touch with the leaders. Jeff Allam runs third in the second of the Johnson cars. In fourth spot, Win Percy, then Greg Hansford, Larry Perkins, Colin Bond, Dick Johnson, Klaus Needsvits, George Fury, and the brat from Ballarat, Neil Crompton. So Holden looking pretty good.
They really are. It's, I'm surprised to see that Percy has got this far up the field. I know there have been some tyre problems for many of the Sierra runners, but to be honest, I thought the car would run in about 6th place and slowly pick them off as the hours ticked by, but Win really is flying.
He loves this circuit. Alan Jones, who's had such wretched luck in this race so far. I don't think it'll be too long before he makes it into the top 10. 13th at the moment. And we expect a pit stop shortly also from Peter Brock. Yet another one for the mobile team.
Not forgetting, of course, that when Alan Jones brings his car in, he'll be swapping over to the Longhurst car. And the Longhurst car now is running in a very strong second position. So the B&H team are not out of this by a long shot.
No, it'd be very, very cruel luck for them not to be around at the finish of today's race. But I take the point that Alan Jones made earlier. That is, if he does make it onto the victory roster today, victory will seem that much sweeter with a few of the hurdles he's had to jump.
Alan was very disappointed yesterday in qualifying. The gearbox jammed in first gear halfway through his qualifying run. Jonesy was all psyched up to put the thing on pole position. Must have been a great disappointment. So, as you say, Mike, it'd be sweet revenge if he could pull up a win today.
So Win Percy continues. What an exciting race we've had so far. I think it may be time for update of our number 1 with Bruce McAvaney. Let's go to it.
Yes, wins update hour 1, and what better way to start than at the start of the race. And some controversy here with Klaus Niedzwitz. Did he get a flying start? We know one thing for sure, Dick Johnson didn't. Here's the start. Niedzwitz away quickly. You can see Johnson in all sorts of problems from the second position on the grid. He was swallowed up by 5 drivers and went into the first turn in 6th position. Niedzwitz got an excellent start and was away, and leading from Brock in 2nd placing, and in 3rd placing Seaton. So it's Niedzwitz, Brock, Seaton, Longhurst up to 4th. And as we have a look at the race cam shot, inside Jim Richards' Nissan. Now this has been really the big story of the morning. Richard started from 11th position on the grid and has slowly, well, I guess slowly is not the right word, he has surely made his way through this field. It's really been a brilliant performance. Niedzwitz was very fast in the first lap. He put a big space between himself and Brock in the first half a lap up the skyline, which was a surprise. I don't think anybody expected him to do that. Alan Jones had all sorts of problems. Started 55th on the grid, went into the pits early. This is Ray Lintott, who found sand in the early stages in his Sierra. Now Jim Richards moved up to 2nd position on lap 7 and took Klaus Niedzwitz up Mountain Straight. He gives him a little wave here to say, see you later, Klaus, I'm on my way. So he went from 11th to 1st. In 7 laps, he passed 8 Sierras and 2 Commodores in that time. It was one of the most powerful displays ever seen at Bathurst, and he's really on his way. He's given the Sierra something to think about at the moment, that is for sure. Peter Brock seems to have had a lot of problems this morning with the compounds. He was struggling early, he was in 2nd position, but losing ground to Niedzwitz. He came in for an unscheduled pit stop to change the tyres, and that took a little longer than they would have wanted. The second mobile car also came into the pits just afterwards with Andrew Madecki. But Brock back lost a fair bit of time there as we take the race cam shot. And this was Johnson coming into the pits. Now this was interesting. Dick came in on lap 17. He had a puncture, but I guess the interesting thing was that he changed drivers. John Bowe came in. Now Brock coming in on his 2nd pit stop. You can see the worry and the anguish from the man who's won Bathurst 9 times. But this is the man who may win it again today. Jim Richards, who drove with Peter Brock in those old days in the Holden times. Richards in front. He's got a 32.5-second lead at the moment from Tony Longhurst, and he really is flying away as we see Peter Brock also back on course, but Brock struggling a little at the moment. OK, so that's the first of the updates, and Mike, I guess not only the Richards a big story, but the number of pit spots in the first hour has been a surprise.
Yes, I don't think anyone would have thought that you would have seen the Brock cars in for 2 within the hour. Colin Bott also pitted just a few moments ago. Watts 7th. It was a very smart pit stop, and he has rejoined in 14th spot. The race continues as Brock now comes up. Down on the inside here of the Mercedes 190, being driven today by Phil Ward and former great race winner Johnny Goss. Good to see John back at Bathurst. Co-sponsored by Munro Wiley and also the Heart Foundation of Australia. Under the Bridgestone Bridge. And they're coming up behind what looks like the Kevin Waldock, Michael Preston Playscape car. He's quite a surprise this season, I thought, in the Touring Car Championship. Kevin Waldock, a very, very strong runner.
Kevin has been the big improver, certainly, in this season. He only started racing this Sierra last year in the some rounds of the Touring Car Championship. And if you look at his results through the Touring Car Championship, he just made a continual progression in his lap times and his performances, culminating, of course, in that great 3rd place in the Sandown 500 about 3 weeks ago. So Waldock and Preston certainly looking very strong. The car is beautifully built by Ross Stone, and they've got all the right gear on that car to put in an excellent finish. Waldock now running in position 17.
So a good run there from the Playscape Sierra. Brocky there locking up a brake. And that gives you some idea of the kind of tyre problems that he must be in at the moment.
Another note from the pits that the Tony Mulvihill McIntyre Commodore has been disqualified from the event. We'll come back to that as
Win Percy,
steps out of the Telecom Mobiles V8 Commodore, puts Alan Grice behind the wheel.
Was running in 4th place with the Commodore.
Wally Story saying to me yesterday they should do this change without a pad change. This is just tyres, fuel and a driver change in about 30 seconds.
Hands are up on this side of the car. And this is starting to take a while.
That looked like a pretty good stop, Johnny Brady.
did. And Wyn Percy's out of the car now, trying to get his helmet off. Wyn, can you hear me?
Well, we're happy with everything. Of all the stupid things, I must have pressed a little bit too hard, or we got something on the floor. Well, at the start line, the clutch stayed on the floor. So Alan and I have just got to drive the race by pressing it enough to clear, but not firmly to the floor.
That's causing a bit of trouble out there, then?
Well, it's not easy, but to be honest, it's not that difficult. It's not losing its time. It's just embarrassing to start.
Was that the reason for this stop? Like you were scheduled in about 4 laps anyway?
Well, the clutch just wouldn't release from the floor.
Wyn, the Commodore's certainly going pretty well at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know why. We've got a fuel pickup problem, so we're a little bit concerned. It's a bit early for that, but we'll see.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Johnny. Alan Grice, stepping into the number 16 car, has rejoined the race in 11th spot, so that's not too bad. But he's got a bit of work to do with some double shuffling and no clutch to speak of.
Yeah, it's a worry for him as Peter Brock there makes another place up at the expense, I think, of Brancatelli.
Yeah, well, have to look at them when they come past. I'm not sure if it's Gianfranco or Rolf Grabbett was going to start the car.
No, it's still Brancatelli at the wheel.
Heading up now to the Corolla Bridge as we wait for the Brock car. Andrew Madecki in the 6 car to the left-hander. Kevin Bartlett and Russell Ingall follow through in the GIO Insurance Commodore. They have a great team here. And there's Tony Longhurst running second on the road at the moment. Fastest car, as we've said so often, here in practice leading up to yesterday's top 10. Tony won here back in 1988. So Longhurst heading up the mountain yet again. That breakout now from Jimmy Richards in car number 1 to Tony Longhurst, about 40 seconds. So he's opening the gap all the time.
Well, the number 20 B&H car certainly hasn't run to script, but this one has so far. Tony must be pleased with the way that it's going, and he's planning to stay in the car when the car does come in for tyres and fuel. Tony's planning to stay in and do a double stint. And then Alan Jones, who will have, in the meantime, brought the 20 car in, will then jump into the 25 car.
He'll have done some racing by the end of the afternoon, Alan Jones, and all hard stuff. Okay, here comes Neil Crompton, car number 7. Johnny Brady's there. Call to the action for us, John.
Yes, mate, another driver change. Neil Crompton coming out of the car, and Brad Jones will hop into it. Again, they'll be trying to get it away as a quick stop. Things going pretty well. Apart from Wyn Percy, I didn't realise had that clutch problem before, but no problem seemed to be with this car. They seem pretty happy with it. So it's just a case of getting in and out of the pits as quick as they can, and then we'll try and grab Neil Crompton as quick as we can. But they're almost clear now, just a little more fuel to go into the tank. The hands going up. Crompton just strapping Brad Jones into the seat. And we should be away in a little while. And ready to go now, I hope, starting up the engine, but yes, it's gone. And so is Brad Jones.
Thank you, John.
Neil Crompton. Mate, how was it out there? Well, it's quite good, actually, John. We're very pleased with the speed of the car. There's a bit of traffic about, which everybody expected, but I'm basically having a very pleasant Sunday morning drive. Mate, you should be in the pits with me.
I'll bet it's busier down here. There's no way I'm going to swap outfits with you.
Mate, what's the feeling like for the Holdens? Because it looks like you're staying there in touch. I know the Nissan's out there at the moment, but the feeling seems to be Holden are going to be around there at the finish.
Well, like I said, John, I think that our race pace is surprising a few. I can hear on the radio that some of the Sierras are having tyre troubles. We've got brakes, we've got grunt, and we've got grip, so that's about all you need to win this motor race.
And you got Crompton. Thanks, mate.
Thank you, John. Brad Jones, of course, in the number 7 car, vacated by Neil Crompton, now back on the track and has joined in about 9th spot. John Brady very busy in the pits as the Alan Radicic number 18 car, the second of the Dick Johnson cars, comes in for the pit stop.
Yes, Mike, and they look like they're going to do it very quickly indeed. They've almost got the driver change complete. Just a little more petrol to go into the tank, and this will be quite a quick stop. And away they go. That is moving from the pits down. Neil Lowe and the boys in the pits here.
Certainly was. 18 rejoining the race in 8th position, so that was a very, very quick pit stop. Klaus Niedzwitz in car number 10 has moved from 10th back to 5th on the road. Race still being led, of course, by Jimmy Richards in the Nissan GTR. We're following Tony Longhurst running second on the road, 40.24 seconds behind. and everything at least running smoothly for Tony in the 25 car.
It's all looking good at the moment. The only problem that he's got, of course, is that the Nissan is streaking away still in front. It's put another 10 seconds lead on since we last looked.
Yes, we're watching the final round of the Touring Car Championship all over again. Richards has absolutely spread-eagled the field, is sprinting away at front. The only thing with that car is the question mark hanging over the head is, can it run 1,000 kilometres? But at the moment, the thing is just looking so strong.
Okay, race score shows us Jimmy Richards leading the great race. Second is Longhurst and McLaughlin in the Sierra. Third, the Hansford and Judone car. Fourth is Perkins and Mazzera. Fifth, Clouds, Needsvits and Frankie Biela. In sixth, it's Johnson and Bow in the 17 car. Seventh, it's Fury and Price in the Peter Jackson Sierra. Eighth is the car we just saw the pit stop from, Allen and Radisich in the Shell Sierra. Ninth is Win Percy and Alan Grice in the Holden Team Commodore. And rounding out the 10 is Jones and Holm. They've finally made it up into the top 10. There's more to come from Mount Panorama here at Bathurst. Back in a moment. Also, Win Percy coming up through the field, and there is the Tony Longhurst car coming out of the pits. Longhurst in the pits, of course, was running second on the road, has rejoined, but hasn't dropped that far back, only to 7th position. And a very orderly pit stop too.
Quite incredible stop. It was somewhere around 25, 26 seconds. It really was a blinder.
Alan Grice, of course, up to position number 9 as we take Dunlop race cam. Now we're riding actually in the front of the Alan Grice Win Percy Holden Commodore. Now, you can't get much closer to the track here at Mount Panorama, and it really doesn't require any commentary. The sounds and the sight of a very quick lap here in traffic. In the meantime, the Nissan GTR is in the pits, and to cover it, Steve Titmus.
Very much, Mark. Well, they're going to do the works on the car on this stop. They're planning for a driver change. Jim will hop out, Mark's hopping in. They'll change all 4 tyres, throw in fuel, and also the plan was to change the front brake pads as well. So it's going to be interesting just how long this pit stop does go for. It's gone for 23 seconds so far. Looks like the fuel's gone in. The driver change appears to be complete without too much of a hassle. And they're now taking the brake pads out of the front wheels. The stage this stop so far has gone for 45 seconds. Everything appears to be set. It appears they might have a bit of trouble with the front left-hand brake pad, trying to get it.
Just look how warm they are, Steve.
Oh, geez, not right, Mike. Certainly it's lucky the guys in the pits are wearing the gloves, because, my word, they're extremely hot indeed.
Well, I think the Nissan team expected a long pit stop because they do have to do a couple of pad changes. But while Mark Scaife sits in the Nissan, if you happen to own a great Aussie V8, let me tell you that a Holden Commodore now leads the Tooheys 1000. And it happens to be Larry Perkins in car number 11. Mark Scaife heads on out of the pits. Battle continuing here between Fury, the number 20 B&H car, and of course the Holden Commodore 16 with Alan Grice at the wheel. And the Nissan has actually rejoined in 10th spot.
Unfortunately, Larry's run at the front will only be short-lived. He's yet to make his first stop. It should be very soon, I would imagine.
George Fury, second of the Peter Jackson entries, and he later in the race is scheduled to take over Glenn Seaton's car. Seaton, rather like Longhurst, will do a double stint. So Fury and the man in front of him, Alan Jones, will get to drive 2 cars today.
Not a bad day's effort.
Well, if you're going to have drivers of their caliber and you're going to have to pay them, you might as well get the maximum value out of them.
Exactly.
Picks up the action as we have yet another pit stop for the Peter Brock Mobil 1 team. No derails.
No prizes for getting guessing it, Mike. More tyre problems for Brock. They've only been 12 laps this set of tyres. They're doing the driver change as well now. Andy Rouse going in. But this is becoming a real grade A headache for Peter Brock. If he's got to keep doing tyres every 12 laps, he can forget about it. Change is complete now. The stop isn't holding them up long. That's the good news. And Andy Rouse just jumping as he goes away, having trouble now. He gets it up and running. And the Brock team with a lot of trouble today. And look at those tyres. They do not look at all flash. If we can just get a shot of them.
Let you arrange that, John, because Larry Perkins, that have been storming to the front in this race, has just gone into the pits in the number 11 car. He will hand over to Thomas Mazera. As I said, that Holden Commodore led the great race for a spell anyway. They'll be charging back through the pack. There's Larry standing as Thomas Mazera takes over the car. Very capable driver.
Yes, Thomas has a lot of experience, and he's been doing great things in Europe this year. He's trying to get started over there. Drove a rather troubled race in a sports car, Porsche, at Le Mans. And Thomas is hopefully looking to drive a Group A car next year in the Touring Car Championship. And he's certainly got the runs on the board here at Bathurst, sharing a Sierra with Tony Longhurst in '88.
Larry Perkins, car number 11. Thomas Mazera at the wheel now, 6th. On the racetrack is the Talmalmo farmer, George Fury. Steps out of car number 30, an orderly pit stop there.
Drew Price getting into the car. Fury having to do the bounce up there. Fury, as we said, will be standing by after this to get into the 35 car, along with Glenn Seaton. And England's David Sears, who finished 3rd at the Le Mans 24-hour race. This year, we'll be jamming into the 30 car later in the race.
Some great pictures there from our new stick cam, or pit cam as we call it, as you can see. Getting close to the driver, across the top of the car for any pit stop. Having trouble restarting the car.
The engine was stalled when it dropped off the hydraulic jacks. Seaton trying to crank it over now. And this is a definite worry with the Sierra.
So big dramas here. We already have a Prima holiday replay for you here. It's the Lusties. They've been bunkered in the rough by the look of it. That's real barbecue material there. Gee, they're an unlucky team. They try to fire it and get the car out. Hope they already have. This doesn't look good.
Yeah, there's Barry Seaton, the guy who builds the engines. It's a major headache here. Glenn's shaking his head. No, there's Drew Price in the car now.
And it looks like the Moffat car is in the pits for a very quick stop. Steve Tidmus, call the action for us.
Okay, thanks very much, Mike. Yeah, there's a driver change. Greg Hansford out of the car. Edu Donne into the car. I'll do a complete tyre change as well. The fuel's gone in. And this is a pretty good stop for the Greg Hansford Edu Donne car.
Give in mind.
It's a pretty good stop for them.
Give in mind, all these cars have to start on the starter motor. You can't push them along the pit road, otherwise you'll wind up disqualified. In the meantime, Tony Longhurst, well, the second car, the number 20 car, is in the pits. Hansford has been in.
Yeah, he actually was in the lead of the race for a short while.
Now he's rejoined in 10th position.
Take it away, John.
Yeah, mate, this is a standard driver change and tyre change, and you can see Alan Jones frantically trying to rearrange the seat belts, just struggling to get them all fine. Now they're off and running, just over about 30 seconds to stop. And Alan Jones back in the race. Of course, he had those troubles earlier on, or Alan Jones taking a break, with the car having those troubles early on, missing the start and being forced to that early flat.
Thank you, John. The car has rejoined the race in 11th spot. Denny Holm, Mark McLaughlin. So they're looking still fairly comfortable. They're hanging in there at the right time. In the meantime, Mark Scaife in the Nissan GTR across the top of the mountain down towards Skyline. It's been an interesting comparison as the Holden looms up right behind it, coming down into the S's through Tui's turn.
Price has been sitting about that far behind the Nissan now for about 4 laps.
Well, I believe Greg Hansford has done a great job in the Moffat car handing over, of course, to Pierre Dieudonné. Let's check out how Greg feels about it with Johnny Brody.
It's actually Steve Tippis, Mike. Thank you very much, Greg. You're pretty pleased with how the car's gone this morning?
Yeah, no problems. You know, we started a bit back in the pack, and then 6 or 7 of them got away. But I made my mind up before the race started that I wasn't going to try and stay with them. So we, stuck to the 22nd lap time, and I think it's paid off. The tyres lasted a little bit longer. We got the maximum wear out of the fuel and the tyres, and we did 34, 35 laps.
Well, you were looking at the tyres over there. They've got a fair few number of chunks out of them, though. They certainly have not been treated quite well on the track.
Yeah, well, the last 4 or 5 laps, they certainly started to slide all over the track, and I think the lap times only went down about 1 second, and normally you'd expect to go 4 or 5 seconds too slow, so it was really good. That's why I stayed out there, even with the pieces coming out of them.
Greg Hansford, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. A report from the pits as we follow Mark Scaife, car number 1. The GTR trying to climb back through the pack again. There's been quite a lot of pit activity in the last couple of laps here. We've seen the Brock team in for yet another pit stop. That long stop for the Nissan team for the brake pad change. And car number 35, Glenn Seaton, now pulls into the pits for his pit stop. Let's hope that that doesn't stall, and they, of course, have to suffer the indignity of trying to get the engine restarted again. Checking now. I thought they may. John Brady in the pits looks fairly orderly, John.
So far, so good, yeah, Mike. No great problems here. Just a few words from George to Glenn. Of course, George will take over this car a little later on, but particularly after that long pit stop, more than ever, this is the car they'll be banking on. And all clear now. The pit stop just over about 30 seconds, and Glenn Seaton back on the road for a double shift.
Thank you, John. Well, with all those pit stops, 35 rejoining position number 11. By our calculations, that would put Klaus Niedzwitz, Frankie Biela at the wheel of the car, up in front. The Dick Johnson 17 car in second, Longhurst in the 25 car in third, Perkins in fourth, and the Alan Radisich number 18 car 1 spot back in fifth. So, Alan Moffat's ANZ team, very sharp pit stops here. Niedzwitz, of course, running superbly out in front, and of course the Nissan coming from behind again. Check them out for you on the race score. Klaus Niedzwitz and Frankie Biela lead the race. Johnson and Bauer run in second. Longhurst and McLaughlin in third. Spot car 25. Perkins and Mazira are in fourth. Fifth, Allen and Radisich in the second shell car. Sixth is Richards and Scaife. Seventh, Percy and Grice. Eighth is Fury and Price. Ninth is Hansford and Dieudonné. And rounding out the 10 is Gibbs and Onslow. Gee, we've had the pit stops. The real racing is still to come here at Bathurst.
To Bathurst, the Tui's 1000, and this is car 18, the second of the shell cars. It got up to third position before the pit change about 5 minutes ago. The Allen Radisich combination, and they're in the top 10 at the moment. They're in fifth position. So Dick Johnson has 2 cars in the top 5. Johnson currently second, and this car number 18 in fifth position. So great start for Shell after a pretty ordinary start at the beginning of the day when Dick Johnson got left somewhat at the beginning when Klaus Niedzwitz was away. So the number 18 car has performed very well today. It made it all the way from 13th to 3rd at one stage. Well, somebody who's just joined us who's a keen motor racing fan is Dr. John Hewson, the leader of the opposition. Welcome.
Hi Bruce, how are you? Delighted to be here.
Enjoying the day?
Very much. Fantastic.
Where have you been spending most of it?
We've wandered through the pits in the last few minutes. I was just talking to Dick Johnson actually, complaining of tyres. I think that a number of the cars have had problems with the tyres. The surface is too hot. They're bubbling, they're blistering. Johnson had a hole out of one of his tyres in the first change, but he seemed quietly confident. It's a worry, isn't it?
Well, it is a worry because Dick's not quiet about anything, John. He's always pretty rowdy about the things he does, but we're watching the other car at the moment, the number 18 car. That's a terrific backup to him, so that's the advantage they've got at the moment with 2 cars going so well.
2 in the top 5, and, you know, it's like politics. It's a long way this race, and but he's in a good position. He had, as you say, a bad start.
What about motor racing for you? Is it just Bathurst that you take an interest in?
Oh, no, we went to the Touring Car Championship a few months ago, and we're going to the Grand Prix. I followed it a bit in Australia. I'm a bit of a petrol head, but I've never had the opportunity to drive, so I've been a spectator, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, to organise it next year, though, so you can sit in one of the cars during qualifying and go a fast lap around Mount Panorama.
That might cure you of the problem.
Absolutely. It's a pretty dangerous circuit, I can tell you. Well, it's been a great day. This race really transcends the sport, doesn't it? It brings all Australians together.
It's a unique circuit, really, with a combination of pace and skill, and the climb up the mountain, of course, is a key thing. I don't think there's anything like it in the world, really.
Well, we're enjoying it. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Delighted to be here. Thanks, Bruce.
Dr. John Hewson, the leader of the opposition, who's really enjoying his motor racing today. OK.
I was going to say, Bruce, he didn't bring some more Bridgestones for Brocky, did he?
I could ask him if you like, Mike. He didn't bring any Bridgestones for Peter Brock. He's got lots of problems with that.
Bigger problem with tires, yeah, that's right.
The answer is no, Mike.
Deary me, I hope he's got enough to do the day. Here's a veteran of Bathurst, a former winner. Kevin Bartlett and Russell Ingalls sharing one of the GIO Insurance Commodores. Gee, they've put together a good team under Bob Forbes this year. Privateers, they've campaigned on the Touring Car Championship Trail.
And Mike, I spoke to Bob earlier in the week and he said there'd be no Commodores in the top 10, and I think all the Commodore people themselves have surprised themselves and they're up there and running, and I think Gibson Onslow up in the top 20 now and looking pretty good.
Okay, man who knows about Holdens, Johnny Harvey. What's happening there, John?
Yeah, it's a regular pit stop. No driver change at this stage. Wheels are on. They're looking at the brakes to see if they're going to change the pads. Still haven't made a decision yet. There's a problem here. Now they're going to change the pads. Now they're going to change the pads. This is going to be a delayed stop.
John, just taking in the problems of Peter Brock with the testing that they did here between Dunlop and Bridgestone early in the season, they were fairly confident they would have the best rubber here for the day, and it's all turned fairly sour.
Yes, that's true, Mike, but I think they've made some changes since that test day, and of course now they're back here for the first time. And mind you, I think it was always expected that the Sierras would have some problems here. As you know, they're all carrying additional weight this year. They've had some problems in the Touring Car Championship. They've got problems here.
Yes, they certainly have. Mark Gibbs, of course, was running 11th.
Well, that's interesting. I just got the clock on Jim Richards then. The pace of the Nissan has dropped back to 2 minutes 21 seconds. So the pace is easing off now, certainly at the front. Richards dictating the pace.
Well, the GIO car continues. An incident a few moments ago. I think it was the Finnegan Leeds car. We'll have the replay for you in a moment or so of that. So the GIO cars continue. As I said earlier, they're running two cars. Kevin Bartlett, former great race winner here. Russell Ingalls, very, very strong open wheeler driver, and Bob Forbes, of course, the patron of the team, and they have a very good support from GIO, who have been right there running the Touring Car Championship this year and giving some youngsters a break. Okay, let's go to that incident, catch up what happened. The Finnegan and Leeds car. Prima Holidays replay here at Bathurst. They were running 26th on the road. Uh-oh, just out of the curve there, and the spin out of harm's way and off the racing line. Now from another angle. The cars go through the dipper, and that's where it broke loose on him. Food for thought. So, oh, dearie me, the 27 car we're just showing you has now run into an even greater spot of bother here on the racetrack. Terry Finnegan, Jeff Leeds, Holden Commodore.
Don't think we'll see much more of that, Mike. They'd be bitterly disappointed, of course. Last year, Terry Finnegan had trouble getting away. He was one of the victims of that delayed start, and he was really looking forward to this race. Said he'd had a good year and was well prepared. Jeff Leeds, on his 21st visit to Bathurst, will give him the key to the mountain. And I know that he was very, very keen. Thought about giving it away this year and not coming up, but the enthusiasm got him again. And now, well, Jeff will be feeling fairly ordinary, I should think.
Well, that looks to me like it's on Conrod Straight.
It is, yes.
And we may have the yellow flags out here soon.
I wouldn't be surprised. That has happened actually straight beneath our speed camera, as you can see on the crane across Conrod. It's forcing one lane down the inside. It is not really the best place to have a motor car sitting for the rest of this race.
That's an extremely dangerous spot. It's just over the hump in Conrod, so guys are going to be coming up to that fairly blind. And I would say,
well, of course, sorry, I was going to say, Mark, with the flaggies doing a great job here. All of the drivers are now aware they have to move across. In the meantime, let's check them out on the Caltex race score for you. Klaus Niedzwitz and Frankie Biela continue to lead the great race from Dickie Johnson and John Bow. Bow in the car at the moment. Third is the Longhurst, McLaughlin, Benson and Hedges Sierra. Fourth is Jeff Allen and Paul Radisich in the Shell Sierra. Fifth, Larry Perkins in the first of the Commodores, the Castrol machine. Sixth is Jimmy Richards and Mark Scaife. Scaife at the wheel of the GTR. Seventh is Percy and Grice in the Commodore. Eighth, Hansford and Judone in the ANZ Sierra. Ninth, Fury and Price in the Peter Jackson Sierra. And of course, rounding out the 10 car number 20, which is the Alan Jones Denny Holm car. The veteran Denny Holm in the car at the moment. And we'll be back in just a moment. Panorama Bathurst, because of the Terry Finnegan, Jeff Leeds Commodore striking the wall halfway down Conrod Straight. The yellow flags and the pace car have come out onto the racing circuit. Keeping in mind, 2 pace cars are used here at Mount Panorama because of the size of the circuit. One pace car joins the field at the top of the mountain, and one, of course, comes out of the pit lane. So if you go in for a pit stop, you really have to have everything working for you, which group of cars you come in behind. Well, one guy's doing pretty well out in the racetrack at the moment. I don't know whether he appreciates the breather or not. Here's Johnny Bow driving in the number 17 car. Good morning, John.
How you going, Michael?
Fit as a fiddle. How's it? Heavy work out there?
Well, we've got a bit of an oversteery problem. Like it seems to, the rear tyres seem to have overheated. So all I'm doing is trying to persevere as best I can so that when we make the next stop, we can overcome it.
Now, you've been past the accident, Jeff Leeds, Finnegan Commodore. A good move to bring the yellow flags out and also the pace car?
Well, I think so, Mike, because you couldn't leave it there for the whole race. It was blocking half the track, and, you know, if somebody got a bit out of shape or something, you know, they could have a real momentous accident. So I think it's the best thing to do under the circumstance.
Does it give a driver now a chance for a bit of a breather, John?
Well, what I'm hoping is that it gives the whole car a bit of a chance for a breather.
Well, you must be fairly happy, and so must Dick, with a couple of cars there in the top 10.
Where's the other car running?
We're just looking down through the field for the 18 car, and it is running in 4th position.
Yeah, they're doing a great job, eh?
2 and 4, that's not too bad, son.
No, it's pretty good. We've just got to get to the next stop without any mishaps and try and overcome these couple of slight problems. But the car's as strong as an ox in engine, transmission, things like that. It's great. But just the balance is not quite right, so I couldn't keep Klaus behind me before. He was just a bit quick over the top of the mountain, but anyway, it's a long way to go yet, mate, isn't it?
It certainly is, son. You know what the winning feeling's like. It'd be nice second time around, wouldn't it?
It would be wonderful, but I'm not even thinking about it yet.
I won't put the muckers on you. Thanks very much for the chat.
Okay, ciao.
Johnny Bow, of course, talking, and in the pits while we watch the pit stop of Colin Bond, it's John Brady.
Yeah, big drama for Colin Bond here. Memories, in fact, of Klaus Niedzwitz a couple of years ago when he had this race won until the pace car came out and blew a head gasket, and it looks very much like the Colin Bond car may have done the same thing. As you can see, a lot of heating problem. They're trying to close it up now and see how it goes, but I asked Colin a second ago what he thought, and he just gave me a nod and said he could be another head. So they're going to try and persevere with it. But it'll be worth a good look at the car over the next couple of laps to see just how long it lasts. It's just conked now as they've tried to start it up again. She's away now, but it could be a dicey proposition.
Well, Colin Bond, of course, was running 13th on the road. Graham Crosby of New Zealand has taken over the car, a very capable co-driver. And obviously, if the car continues, our viewers across TV3 in New Zealand would like to see him do well. Well, it's like visiting an old friend now as we take Dulux Auto Colour race cam. Alan Grice back in a Commodore and storming through the pack. Good morning, Alan.
Yeah, mate, how are you?
Just fine, thanks.
Oh, we've got a hell of a whistle in the earphones there.
Yes, a little bit. I was going to say you could call Telecom Mobiles. They might be able to fix it. Okay, Alan, the car feels pretty strong despite the problems of the clutch. It sounds like we may have lost Alan there for a tick or so. Grice 7th on the road at the moment. Obviously, in talking to drivers with race cam, you have to appreciate that during parade laps such as this behind the pace car, the crew also would like to talk to the driver and not just the television commentators. And joining us in the commentary box is a guy who's been doing a great job for Toyota, Johnny Smith in the Supra. And you look as fresh as a daisy.
Well, I wouldn't say fresh, Mike, but I'm feeling fairly good, actually. So's the car. It was, when I got out of it, it was doing an excellent job. Actually, I'm not too sure how far up the line we got, but the car was going fine. Peter McKay's now in it, and I've swapped the commentary seat with him, and I'm up here, and he's in my car. I just hope he looks after it, that's all.
Well, the car circulating behind the pace car. It gives an opportunity for the field to close up. 2 pace cars, John. The only criticism I probably have is the fact that just before they go back to racing, maybe they should take the second pace car away and let the rest of the field close up. But
well, yes and no, Mike. I tend to think it's a good idea myself, 2 cars.
Yep. Alrighty, time to check them out how they were running on our Caltex race score. Klaus Niedzwitz and Frankie Biela leading the race in car number 10 for ANZ. Second, the Johnson and Bauer machine. Third, Longhurst and McLaughlin, the B&H Sierra. Fourth, Allen and Radicic in the second of the Johnson cars. Fifth, Perkins and Mazera in the Castrol Commodore. Sixth, Richards and Scaife steadily working their way back up. Percy and Grice run 7th. Hansford and Giudone in the ANZ run 9th. Fury and Price, of course, in 9th spot. And Neil Crompton and Bradley Jones doing strongly. They've made the top 10. Yellow flags and the pace car are out. We'll be back for the restart in just a moment.
The pace car out at the moment. Lap 45 of 161. We've seen a number of unscheduled pit stops today. The big story early that Jim Richards was flying. He went from 11th to 1st. Got a break on the field, but he's currently in 6th position. And Klaus Niedzwitz is leading this field from Dick Johnson, Tony Longhurst and Jeff Allen. So that's the scene at the moment at Mount Panorama. One very interested fan today is Wayne Grady, the winner of the USPGA. Welcome, Wayne. How are you?
Thanks a lot, mate. Yeah, having a great time.
You are. You're with Brocky's team, though, and he's not having a great time, is he?
No, he's just having a little bit of trouble down there with the tyres, but you know, still, this is such a long race. There's plenty to happen.
What about Bathurst for you? Is this your first time?
Second time, but the first time was about 18 years ago, so I'm really enjoying it. I haven't seen the race for a long time, and it's been my first opportunity in about 6 or 8 years to see the race.
We must congratulate you on the PGA performance. I mean, the whole of Australia was really wrapped, Wayne, and they said it would change your life completely, has it?
Oh, it's got me to Bathurst, you know. And it got me in Peter Jacobson's Pro-Am, everyone. But no, it's been great. There's been a lot of changes. I've been very busy. Mind you, I like the change. I think it's what we all work for. And I've got a busy schedule at the end of the year, and I'm looking forward to it. This is the first time we've been home since the start of February, so I'm enjoying myself.
Well, there's the car 27 that caused all the problems, the Finnegan and Leeds car, the Commodore, that was stuck on Conrod, and it's now being towed away, so the race will restart very, very shortly. Wayne, what's for you golf-wise in the next few weeks?
We got another week here at home. We're going to go to the VFL final or the AFL final now, and then we go back to St Andrews with Greg and Roger Davis for Dunhill Cup, and hopefully we can get past first round this year. And don't come up against France. We got nailed last year first round. Then it's back to America and Japan, and then back here to Australia for a few.
Well, Wayne, I won't ask you who you're barracking for next week. You're on Peter Brock's team. It must be the black and whites.
Well, even before I saw Peter, yeah, Collingwood. You know, hopefully they can. I mean, if I can win the PGA, Collingwood can win that.
Well, they haven't won since 1958. Good luck. Wayne, thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and good luck for the rest of the year.
Thanks very much, mate.
Good on you.
Thank you, Bruce. Great to see Wayne Grady here. Time to check out the entire field, how they run on lap 45. Niedzwitz and Biela lead from Johnson and Bauer, then Longhurst and McLaughlin, Allen and Radicic, Perkins and Mazera. That's the top 5. 6, Richards and Scaife, Percy, Grice, Hansford, Giudone, Crompton, Jones, and Alan Jones, Denny Holm run in the top 10. 11th at Seaton and Sears, 12th Waldock and Preston, 13 Brock and Rouse, Fury and Price 14th, and Brancatelli and Gravitt in 15th. Bond and Crosby 16th on the road, Bartlett and Ingnall in 17th, Callahan and Barry Graham 18th, Medecky and O'Brien 19th, and Bagnall and Francevic 20th.
In 21, the Reed Ashby Commodore, Gibbs Onslow in 22nd, Riley and Beard in the Little M3 in 23rd. 24th is the O'Brien Sampson Everlast Commodore, and 25 Lintott and Rush in the Valvoline Sierra. 26 Johnny Smith and Peter McKay in the Toyota Team Supra, Golson and Golson in the BMW, Phil Ward and Johnny Goss in the Monroe Mercedes, Landon and Crick in the Skyline, and number 30 Pearson and Stewart in the Product Commodore. 31, the two Grants in the Nissan Skyline. 32, Wilmington and Thompson in the Toyota Supra. Peter Dorman and John Cotter in the M3 Motorsport M3. Callahan Jr. and Gerwald in the Commodore in 34. And 35, John Faulkner and Bates in the Toyota Team Corolla. 36, Lusty and Stack in the Commodore. 37, Smurden and Johnson in the Commodore. Dowson and Stokel in the second of the Team Toyota Corollas. Fool and Ratcliffe in the other Corolla. Trevethan and McDowell in the DAF Sandblasting Commodore. 41, Park and English in the Commodore. Bolwell and Twiggan in the BMW. 43 is Jones and Spurl. 44, Verheyen and Searle in the little Corolla. And 45, Sala and Vorst. 46, Lusty and Jansen in the Commodore. 47, Finnegan and Lees in the Foodtown Commodore. 48, another Commodore, Donaher and Duque. 49, Holden and Conway. And 50, Rogers and Reith-Muller. 51, we have Carter and Wacker in the other Ford Sierra. 52, Mulverhill and McIntyre. 53, Gazzard and Bates in the Peter Jackson Champion Commodore. And 54, last position on the track, Rogers and Moore in the Commodore.
Thank you very much, Mark. Well, there's the pace car in the field behind it. One guy who doesn't look like he will be rejoining the great races, Colin Bond. Let's go to Colin in the pits with Johnny Brady.
That's right, mate. Cole, you've been through the good times and the bad times. You know this feeling. It's hit you again.
Well, it looks like we're losing a bit of water out of the head gasket, and it was just getting a little bit hot when Cros was in the car then, and we decided to stop and try and add some water, which we did send him out again, but the temperature got up. And I think that, you know, we can't, I mean, the car still runs, of course, but if you terminal, you wouldn't be able to fix it, you know, in time to be competitive for the rest of the day. So it looks like we have to put it away.
That heartbreaking way to finish a year, but it has been a good one for you and the car.
Well, it has, actually. I mean, the car's been running very reliable all year, and, you know, this is the first race that we haven't finished.
Bad luck, mate. The pace car, did that have any effect on it? I know it got the Sierras once here a couple of years ago.
I don't think so. I think that we were having a slight problem prior to that. We just used the pace car really to try and lose as least amount of time as possible, because it meant we could come into the pits probably for 2 minutes and only lose half a lap. So we thought that might work, but it didn't.
Well, Cole, bad luck. Better luck next time.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Bondi, and thank you, John. Colin, of course, in the Caltech Sierra was running 16th. Coming up for just about the 4th lap under the yellow flag here at Mount Panorama at Bathurst. I would expect we'll be going to a clear track very, very shortly. Our computer shows the number 10 Klaus Niedzwitz car still as a race leader, keeping in mind they break the field up behind 2 pace cars. People waiting patiently for the restart of the race, but one thing, Johnny Smith, people are in fact going to get another race because it's closed the field up.
It has. It's bunched them right up, Mike, and as you can see, there's going to be 2 sprint races in the middle of this field now. One from the pace car at the top of the mountain, and the one from down the bottom here.
Well, you've been in the Toyota Supra. It's running reasonably well out there. Are you happy with it? Does it feel good?
Yeah, very good, Mike. Actually, we improved the car since it last ran at Sandown, and we've had a bit of a troublesome week, but it's all seemed to come together for the car. It's not the fastest car in the field, but being a Toyota and being a bit biased, I suppose, I think it's the most reliable. It's doing the job so well that I can't believe it. It's just so good. And okay, it might not have the pace up the hill. That's where I'll be missing out, but everywhere else it's been excellent.
Would it be fair to say this could be the danger period for the turbo cars, from hot to cold, back to hot again, or?
Yeah, although I'll tell you what though, neither, as Bowie said earlier on in the car, neither the cars nor the drivers don't mind the going slow. You can cool them down, providing they don't get too cold and bring the temperatures up too fast again. You just got to be aware of it.
Alrighty. Not too far off the restart of the Tooheys 1000 from Mount Panorama, and we'll be back when the drivers are ready to take the green. And the green light coming on, pace car just pulling to the pits, and our race leader, of course, is Klaus Niedzwitz in car number 10 over 17. The Dick Johnson, John Bauer machine. The field, of course, broken up behind 2 pace cars. We were talking about that earlier, John. You said you favoured that, but sometimes it works against you.
Well, at this stage, I personally think that the organisers have pulled a bit of a clanger here, Mike. They let Klaus Niedzwitz go through, then pull the pace car out, effectively blocking the cars running 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and so on, and letting Klaus getting actually half a lap on the field. He's caught up to the pace car that was actually at the top of the mountain, and effectively gained a free half lap, and I think it's a bit ordinary myself.
Well, the word that we had back from race control was that it was desirable to have the pace car pull out in front of the race leader, but not essential. I'll let someone else argue that one later. It's pretty easy. in the States and certainly easy in Europe. I think the pace car comes out and always tucks in front of the car that's leading the race.
I wouldn't mind the organiser handing me half a lap for nothing.
No one may be impressed with the organisation, but I think Alan Moffat would have a bit of a smile on his face at the moment.
He certainly would. We are following our race leader, Klaus Niedzwit's car, number 10, across the top of the mountain. Now, keep in mind, the Dick Johnson car with Johnny Bow at the wheel, he's already spoken about they've got some tyre problems. It is only 1.46 seconds behind Niedzwit's. So there's not too much in this race. Klaus coming down through the dipper on the run to Forest Elbow. I think by the time they reach Conrod Straight, you might visually be able to see the gap back to Johnny Bow at the wheel of Dick Johnson's car, the exit to Toledo Tools turn. Very wide out of there against the wall. Beneath the GIO bridge down Conrod Straight. We picked them up on our speed shot. That's where the Finnegan Leeds Commodore went off. So our race leader's gone through and we're looking for the number 17 car. Into Caltech's chase.
I'd guess it to say, Mike, that actually the 17 car's a bit further back than we thought.
Yeah, just looking for it to come out of there. Yes, it's certainly a lot more than 1.46 seconds. Here he is.
Yeah.
So maybe that has blown out just a little. And the problem again, I guess, John, speaking to John Bow before we went to the break, is that they've got a tyre problem. They've got to come in and do their pit stop shortly. So
yeah,
you're not going to see him making up a lot of ground.
No, he's definitely won't. They're going to work hard. If a Sierra has got a tyre problem, they're the car most likely to have it. And also in a car like this, if they've got a rear tyre problem, as John said, they're going to be very taily and very hard to handle across the top. And I think if they keep going, I don't know when their stop's going to be, but if that's the case, they've got a problem well and truly.
Well, it's been a fascinating race, the way that Jimmy Richards took off. Plenty of drama in our number 2, the Tooheys 1000, and courtesy of wins, let's go to Bruce McAvaney.
Yes, our tour of the wins update, and as Mike Raymond suggests, there's been plenty of action, and it started with Win Percy. The Commodores are making a very good run here at Bathurst this year. At one stage, they had 3 in the top 10. Larry Perkins led for a short time, and that's the first time the Commodores led since 1986 when Alan Grice won. But that was Percy. Now, they had a few clutch problems. Grice got into the car. Here's Crompton coming in, Neil Crompton. They were up into 10th position at one stage, and he said they had plenty of grip and grunt. Brad Jones went in. Tony Longhurst has had a very good race so far, and a very good change here in the pits, about 25, 26 seconds. Got quickly back onto the road. Here's a great shot from the race cam, a dice with the Peter Jackson car here, with the Seaton car, which would run into a few, or the Fury car would run into a few problems later on. Now the Nissan car came in for its pit stop. Remembering that Jim Richards had led by 40 seconds at one stage. Mark Scaife got into the car, they changed some brake pads and got it all done in about a minute. The problem here for car 30, Drew Price getting into the car for Glenn Seaton, and they stalled the car and had all sorts of problems. John Lusty in his Commodore with a fire going there. And then Greg Hansford coming into the pits. That got up to 3rd position, and Pierre Dudonnet came in for Hansford, and they went back to 10th. But the ANZ Sierras are going very, very well. Now here's Terry Finnegan in his Commodore having a spin at the dipper. And then a little later on at, see it again there, the 27 car, but this will be the focus of all attention a few minutes later on, because it was stuck across Conrod. It meant that the pace car had to come out, and that's why we've had that little bit of a hold-up late in the second hour of the Tooheys 1000. But Klaus Niedzwitz is leading. Colin Bond also had a very big problem with the head gasket, and the Bond car is out of business as we see it in the pits there. So it's the first major casualty for the Tooheys 1000 of 1990.
An exciting race so far, Bruce.
Absolutely, Mike, and it's anybody's race. This Nissan, of course, still very, very fast, but the Niedzwitz car and the ANZ Sierra team look to be in good form.
They certainly do. I don't know if the man would be very, very happy at the moment to be Freddie Gibson about the way the yellow flags and the pace car came about. And with Fred is Johnny Brady.
Thanks very much, Mike. Yeah, Fred, you were a bit behind at that stage on pit stops only, but the pace car's given Niedzwitz a bit of a jump on you.
Well, the thing is, the pace car's come out and given the advantage to Dick's car car into Niewich's car, but the thing is they also made short pit stops at the beginning of the race. So they weren't really in the pack that we were in. Like Niewich had a flat tyre and Dick stopped early to do his last stop first. So the whole thing is like they were about a half a lap or so ahead of us, but sort of in the same lap. But what the pace cars does give them a bit more of an advantage now. But they've got to also stop early because they've been out longer than we have on fuel. So it'll revert back to sort of we should take the lead again when they sort of come in the pits.
We've got a game for you, but if the pace car comes out again on the same lap, it's just annoying that you can build up a lead and see it whittle down with something like that.
Yeah, it's always a problem. But next time it comes out, I hope it's in our favour and puts DJ a bit further back.
Fair enough, mate. Just everyone's having trouble with tyres today. You've got one of the heavier cars. How are yours standing up?
Oh, I think everyone's made it. Like a lot of people make a wrong decision and go for a softer tyre to go faster, but like 1,000 k, and you've got to go for a bit of an endurance tyre. We've sort of got a hard compound tyre on. At the first pit stop, they were half worn out, so we're quite happy with tyres.
I think maybe now you're paying the benefit of not having missed the Tooheys top 10 shootout by being conservative.
Oh no, it would have been nice to do a 12-9 in the top 10.
Okay, thanks, Fred.
That's what you call confidence, John, isn't it?
Sure is.
Well, the Nissan, optimistic. Yes, quite optimistic. Nissan is now coming back up through the field, and it won't be too long before it's up there hounding away at our race leader, Klaus Niedsvits. According to Nigel Greenway, one of the few people who can actually run a lap score book on the run. He has the Nissan back into third position, and Mark Scaife doing a stellar job here at the controls of the GTR.
He's not exactly tearing past Brock down the straight. It's getting there. Right now it is.
He's gone past Rouse, coming down to... I was trying to work out the line there.
It's a line that he really didn't want to use.
So Mark Scaife effectively passed Andy Rouse.
The big advantage of that car is out of the slow corners. It's just sensational out of the cutting and things like that, where it can put its four-wheel drive to best use.
Once again, the exit and the approach to Mountain Straight. Mark Scaife heading up the mountain beneath the Corolla hatch bridge.
So look at the gap it's pulled on the Sierras now, just in that short straight. That's where it really pulls. 600 horsepower is a pretty good sort of an asset to have when you hit a hill like this.
Quite phenomenal speed from this thing, particularly up the hill. It's been a lot quicker than the Sierras. And here we are, 2 hours and 10 minutes into the race, and the thing's still going like a train.
To be perfectly frank, I had reservations that it'd actually get this far because the car is so underdeveloped. But full marks to Freddie and the boys. I think they've done a good job with it. This is the weak link of the car around this section. It's good out of the cutting. As soon as it gets to an area where it's got to sort of stop and turn, it makes it a lot harder. It's a big advantage. It's just the power down.
Well, Timonelf Grant sharing the Sizzler Skyline in the pits for a pit stop.
That's the former factory car that Scaife ran last year.
Yep.
To great effect. Very good car.
Alf Grant running with his son Tim.
It's great to see a lot of dads and their kids running at Bathurst.
Yeah, we have 3 of those combinations here this year.
To Forest Elbow, Toledo Tools Turn. And back to third, as we said before, the Nissan Skyline with Mark Scaife at the wheel. So the race lead still held by Klaus Niedsvits over Dick Johnson. Third, then of course Mark Scaife. Mark sitting there quite comfortably, doing a good job in the GTR. Then back to Alan Grice, fourth on the road. Fifth is Larry Perkins. Sixth is of course the Tony Longhurst 25 car. Then the Allen and Radisich car running in seventh.
I just noticed Mark having a bit of a confidence dab on the brakes with his left leg. Just make sure he's still got a pedal at the end of the straight. Does wonders for your confidence when you feel a nice hard pedal. You notice the gearbox straight cut gears in that car, and they make a lot of noise and crash and bang as you drive, but obviously very effective.
Well, of course, this kind of quick gear change must be a great advantage in a turbo car because you lose the minimum amount of turbo boost on the gear change.
Yeah, that's right. That's the biggest thing. You can hear him just punch it through. It's the gearbox actually set up in a similar style they have with a single seater with no synchro mesh or anything like that. They use straight cuts and dogs just like you'd find in a motorbike gearbox.
Coming into Repco Bend, the right-hander to lead them up to Mountain Straight. Third on the road at the moment and looking very, very comfortable is Mark Scaife. That looks like a Sunday drive, Mark.
I don't want to disappoint you, Mike. It's a bit of, it's pretty hard work, actually. The front brake's a bit faded, and we're working pretty hard to stay where we are.
Smithy has joined us, and he tells me that he's very, very impressed, as I think most Australians are, with the GTR.
Well, it's a super motor car, I suppose. Since the BMW M3 and then the Sierra, this is Nissan's answer to both those cars. So I'm glad to see it's up and being competitive.
Thank you, Mark. We'll come back to you a little later because the 25 car is in the pits, and it looks like we have some problems. Johnny Brady and Steve Titmus are in the pits. Tony Longhurst stepping from the car. This looks very ominous. Steve Titmus.
Steve who?
Okay. Report from the pit shortly. Tony Longhurst, they have a major problem with the Benson and Hedges number 25 car. Stephen?
Right, now push it away quickly.
Frank Gardner giving the order, push the car away. A lot of disappointment in the Benson and Hedges team, Steve.
Yes, there certainly is, Mike. Tony Longhurst with me. Tony, what's gone wrong?
Looks like it's blown a head gasket.